Good evening. It's Jonathan Albin, and this is NycosRPG. And I am presenting tonight Sage Advice with Game Master Jay, and I have a topic that I will be possibly waxing poetic upon, which is how to change an existent world. This will be a conversation that will be ongoing for a bit, so you can join me and wish to have a conversation, feel free to join into the chat. And if you have access to my Discord, which is available down here below, you can hop on and actually become a guest on the show. So feel free to let me know and we will coordinate for that. I am, again, Game Master Jay, and this is Sage Advice. Let's get started, shall we? So we're going to talk today about changing an existent world. And I'm only speaking tangentially about the game world. I'm actually talking about how do we change the real world. I long ago realized that there is a methodology for playing role-play games that is different, radically different from the game systems that are out there. And it's been a kind of a tough challenge to balance the concept of world creation with game creation, because they are tangentially the same, but they are different animals altogether. And so today we're going to be talking about what it will take to change the world. And I have started this conversation several days ago, off and on, with several of our subscribers and Patreon supporters. And if you, again, want to be a part of that conversation, feel free to hop in and give me your 411, so to speak. We are speaking of how to change the existent world. How do we change the one we live in? Because the reality is there are so many voices and so many ideas that are out there that it's difficult to make a piercing action through the noise and get to the heart of the matter. And whether we indeed should even do so is part of the question today. So if you have an opinion, if you have a option, please submit it in the chat box or through the comment section. Alrighty. The part of the world that I want to change is the part of the world that is making decisions about things. And words mean things, as my mentor Mark Simmons used to say. And with words that mean things, we have to decide what words we wish to use and in what context they will be used and what we're going to talk about. So in particular, I'm talking about game mechanics, and even the defining term role-playing games, because what I am proposing does not fit the model for those which exist right now, and it supplants and replaces in many ways the very tools and devices required to play role-play games as they're defined right now. So I'm kind of at a loss of what to do. So in order to stimulate my thought processes, I'm going to be activating my Wonderdraft account for the night and work on my map of Eldressar, which I've been working on for a while, with the specific intent of trying to get the area of Eldressar and the nation of Elsadar kind of mapped out. So let's see how this goes. Let's see. Can we get it to work here? That didn't do it, so we'll go to plan B. And that did it. So alrighty, so this is the map we're working on. This city down below here is the city of Elsadar in miniature. And obviously miniature, it's not to scale, right? Got to be at least 3 times as big, right, Zoolander? So let's continue to work on it. What a world we live in. What a world indeed. Ooh, $1 billion question. I've been a game master almost all my life. Well, as much of it that matters, all the way back to age 11. And when discussing the very nature of role playing, we have to kind of consider what that phrase means. And role playing for me is a ongoing conversation. Wrong place. And the question becomes, what is role playing game? How does it operate? How does it convey meaning? The traditional methodology for RPGs hasn't really changed much in all these years. Mainly because players have gotten familiar with the mechanism and no longer see a reason to change. Even as people complain and kibitz about what they like and don't dislike. Ooh, yeah. What do we do? Do we keep our secrets to ourselves? Do we stay placid? Do we take advantage of the game mechanism for ourselves and ourselves only? Or do we get the word out to other people? And if we're going to do that, if we're going to attempt to change the world, modify things, how do we accomplish that? And how do we bring the world to our understanding? Hmm. I'm been wrestling it for a while. I feel it's important to give everybody an opportunity to know, but in the process of that getting to know, we sort of have to well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, there's one that needs to get patched. Path, road. Up, up, up. Yeah. And down. Amazing how when you've got that many towns, it seems very busy to go from one area to another. Anyway, welcome. And if you have any commentary, feel free to leave a chat in the box. It does require you to have a verified phone number. That's a mechanical requirement of which to ensure our individual relative safety. Mm-hmm. I have to say, working on maps is rather soothing and gets your mind clear to think about things. And precisely what I'm thinking about is this very question of changing the world. Is it so important that we do so that we risk alienating other people, or do we simply do our own thing? Now, I've already anticipated and decided that I am going to continue the publication of NycosRPG, so it's not like I'm giving up on the potential. But on the other hand, perhaps it's Curious or anxious? There we go. I think that save button, there might have been somebody saying hello. I don't know. Welcome, 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 everybody. This is Jonathan with NycosRPG, and just saying hi. If you've not stopped by before, welcome to the show. And while I'm not talking a lot right this moment, I'm just kind of casually looking on this map. I'm mulling over how to change the world, and so if you've got some ideas how we could do that, I'd love to hear them. It's one thing to say you've got something interesting or important to say, but if you aren't able to get other persons to see that thing that you're finding so interesting, it's rather difficult. comment from the last episode I didn't respond to. Sapphic Chu says, I have a question. How many mimicries can mimics mimic if mimics could mimic mimicry? Depends on what mimicry is made out of, according to the rules of a mimic. What kind of material it's made of, wood, stone, whatever. And the specific answer would be one, but on the other hand, if we're talking about mimics that are making baby mimics, it could be a considerable amount if they actually consumed what it was they were looking at. I don't think he was being serious. I think he was being silly because they came in like an hour and a half after I officially ended the show. But I didn't actually end the show because I left the video running for an extra 3 hours. That was brilliant. The whole room was in the dark. It was a great plan. But I did do the Overlord rules list, and it looks like I got pretty good video viewership afterwards on it. So for that, I can't complain too badly. Here, labels. Interesting. Hello. Welcome. We are live on NycosRPG, so careful what you say. Hey. Cool. Uh-huh. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I was at the store and everybody wanted on, and so we piled on a bunch of folk. Well, yeah, yep. I had just gotten my phone set up again on Discord, and so when I got to the store, I told them, and they all said, "Well, just give it to us now." So I was like, "Okay." And nice. Our video last night was really successful, and I think I told you, but our 100 points, I've got 50 some viewers already that have seen it after the fact. Plus, we had a record number of players actually check it out while we were streaming, so we did really good. There goes your microphone again. Like you must tilt your head or something, and it just pulls that wire just in such a way. Owie, owie. Yeah, now you're back. Yeah, yeah. It kind of sounds like the headphone wire, one of the headphones. Got the separate ones going to each headphone. Uh huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what it sounded like to me is like the if you have like on my headphone, it has my microphone built into the wire as same as my earbud, and if that wire gets like janky right at the connection to the earbud, it actually lets it pick up both the broadcast and receive, and so it might be just doing feedback loop there. It's not squat. Oh, okay, so it's separate from. So that, right, right. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, right, right. Well, talk without mechanics is really what it comes down to, and I usually do when I'm doing the Sage advice stuff because it's not necessarily. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get that, and I don't. Again, I'm not a system snob. I'm not saying that at all. Our conversation yesterday, the ongoing one, is about what to do about Nikos, not necessarily. Well, sure. Where I can do just I feel that general RPG is actually a broader spectrum because that includes Call of Cthulhu and Shadowrun and things like that. And those all have the same mechanics, same engine pieces. You still have to have villains. You still have to have NPCs. You still have to have settings. Yeah, yeah. I think the only reason why I haven't is that I am not because I don't run it any longer, or even when I did, I was still running it, as the phrase goes, homebrew. I do not have the edgy stuff that the players are seeming to want, as far as the, the optimal build kind of conversation or whatever. And therefore, if I say, like, for example, I would, one of the things that I rue or miss the most about Dungeons and Dragons is the fact that they kind of eviscerated rogues. They made playing a rogue unpalatable to the point where you can't find people that will play a rogue. Well, that then you are the exception that proves the rule, I suppose. No, you're good. You're good. Oh, now see, I get monks up the wazoo. Everybody wants to be a monk. It seems like. Uh huh. No, you don't get rangers anymore. You certainly don't get. Well, now you get paladins, but you get paladins that are vengeance or oathbreakers or other ultra hyper violent ones that aren't really about paladin for paladinhood anymore. The very concept of a paladin for paladinhood is gone. You know, no one considers it for what a paladin was. The golden age of paladins is gone. Well, it's the meta. It's the meta play environment. Players today, it seems like, and maybe this will get us into a conversation if people are hop in and hear us talking about this. But the very concept of uh, playing a paladin or something like that, the meta play environment says I don't want to be bound by duties and obligations and all of that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, yeah. Well, warlock and sorcerer really yank my chain because they are not what they say they are. For example, sorcerer says it's the most unique way because you can meta play your spells, but their spell list is so ridiculously short as to make it really not fun to meta play because you're held back, and so there's a lot more warlocks than there are sorcerers because they have the longer spell lists. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know anybody that short. I don't know any. At least I don't game master any short rests. My players never call for them. They only call for mine only call for long rest because they almost always have players who are depending on skills and abilities. Sure, sure. So they then meta play that and say, okay, we're going to hold out right here and not do anything until we reach the 24-hour mark. Well, right. No, I get that. Right. Well, sure, sure. But in a world like Nikos, where the mapping is done, adding monsters out of turn just to jank with a long rest player is kind of unfair as well. No, no, I get that. I get that. What I'm saying is because Nikos is mapped and I've got the Wandering Monster tables, I know mechanically what the likelihood of something walking across is. And the players, after 3 or 4 weeks of playing with me, also know. They're able to calculate and look at it and Again, because they're meta playing, they're not actually they're playing it as a player, not as a persona, as a character. When you're playing a D&D game, they are actually calculating mathematically based on what they know of the game world, and therefore they go, we'll run the risk. But no, but I don't. Yeah, but I don't think I feel that the concept of meta play is not applicable because advancement and everything is now in the hands of the players. They don't have to wait for me as a, Mhm. For me, we can go near. I'm not following that part. Oh, to run a clock like that? I'm sorry, which class? Oh, monk. Oh, no, there's reason to play monk because of the hand to hand. What do you mean that would be boring? Call back to yesterday's conversation. Call back. Right. That's what I'm saying. No, no, I get it. I get it. I was making a joke. I was really. I was actually. No, that's why I laughed out loud. It was a callback, jokingly to what we were talking about yesterday. That was why I did it. Well, I would argue you should be able to multiclass them. That's what I'm talking about. As far as the challenge there is that the way they run magic is broken from the standpoint because the very concept of spell slots. If it's going to be a sorcerer, then the sorcerer shouldn't be able to draw the magic power from the warlock levels at all, right? But D&D doesn't do that anymore. D&D now says that a level of a character is a level of a character. So therefore, they're if they are a warlock and they take a level in sorcerer, then they get the sorcerer split capability, whatever, and yeah, yep, the runaway, the runaway function. Mm-hmm. Today, yeah, no, no, well, yeah, there actually was, and I'm not putting up the point by point today, but the conversation actually, I intended to open it up so that it's exactly what we're talking about right now, and that's how do we change an existent world? And what I'm meaning is a game master that has already created his world, if he set certain physics in motion or certain actions in motion, how can he change that under the players legitimately without breaking the system? But in the right, well, but in the meta, for our purposes, how do we change this world with a world? Well, okay, so yeah, in the meta, how do we create a world event for this entire conversation? How do we what? Oh, right, and when I say, mm-hmm. but what I'm saying is, when I say in the meta, I'm meaning outside of the game environment. How do we change this world, the one we live in? I mean, in the global scheme of things, that's what we all really want. I mean, the reason why we play role play games, it's a place for us to change the world, to literally change the direction of things in the game environment. But I'm saying we're the world we live in. How do we? Well, in the most brusque way of saying it, how do we convince people or show people that they want to try the Nycos RPG, which is what we were talking about a minute ago. And so, how do we change that our real world because we're not getting the purchase that we want? And so, in a role play environment, the analog would be we want to change the physics of the game. Yes, we can do it with magic items, but there's no analog for that in reality, right? We say, well, the laws of physics change. Yes, but I can't ask the ETs to make sure to teach quantum die rolling. You know what I'm saying? How to? Yeah, I know. This is what we were. The irony is that what we talk about a lot is what really is going on, and that is that sometimes my brain is running on a different frequency, and I don't know how to. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, you can also, as you said before, you can do it through celestial or extraplanetary, extra dimensional means. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I guess I'm I'm actually asking as a player, how would you change the world, or how do you think GM can let players change? Okay, but if the objective is to change the opinion of people about, say, kobolds, your your player, your players are not playing kobolds, but they are aware that the poor kobolds aren't getting a fair shake, and so they want to adjust. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, because I'm speaking. I'm okay. Well, no, that's the reason why I will clarify when I'm speaking of things in the meta. I'm speaking outside of the game world and in our world. And then when I didn't say in the meta when I spoke about kobolds. So I'll make sure to make so in game. No, I actually no I believe if I recall correctly. I may not have, but if I recall correctly, I said, for example, in a game. That's that's fair. That's fair. I'm just clear. I understand your confusion. Yeah, I will. I will be more accurate in that going forward. Apologize. Well, no, it's polite to say I'm sorry when I made a mistake. So that's the reason. I was not meaning, not trying to be. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Fair. Uh, okay, so practical application. When I say practical application, I'm talking about practical application in game. So a practical application of how do I convince somebody that kobolds are not a bad thing. If I'm a player and I want to convince the right, and that's I'm trying to create the protocol, if you want, the rules for why we're switching back and forth, and what I'm trying to do. Is that does that make sense, or am I still okay? So in all right, so a practical application of this specific point is if I am wanting to express to my players what's going on in the city, I would say in game, I would say in practical application, the city has a guard policy that doesn't allow kobolds in the boundaries. Okay. At the same moment, I might say in the meta, the kobolds they're upset with are the ones that live in this village. Meta is information that the players may know, but their characters will not know. So my phrase in the meta literally means lift away from the tabletop for a moment. Yeah. Yeah. See. Right. 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 Mm-hmm. Right. 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 Okay. So in this case, when I use the word metagame, I am not referring to what historically was known as min maxing. The phrase min maxing was replaced at some point in the past, and I don't know when, with the idea of metagaming. And, and that crossover, I know that the crossover point was specifically guided guided. Right.
You're playing the meta. The meta is the best way to play. That's the term. So that's why. So the meta gaming, and so where D&D already had something called metagaming, and then this other terms come in. So you've got two different versions of it that are now in D&D. For example,
Well,
I
okay.
don't.
Okay, so let me clarify, in counter clarification, the idea of meta doesn't mean best. It means that which is most common outside of the rules. So, in other words, I play Magic. I play Magic the Gathering. Do you play Magic?
I mean, not anymore. But
Okay, but no, you understand the concept of a meta-gamed deck is somebody who went online and saw what everybody else is doing and is playing a deck that runs with everybody else's deck. It's like everybody else's. And a anti-meta deck was a deck that was built to actually combat the common understanding of the current play mechanism. Dungeons and Dragons didn't have this concept of meta until the online game community brought it over. So, right. So when I say metagame, I literally mean outside of the game. So if there's a better term for me to use, let me know because to me, outside of the game literally means anything else but the game. So when I say I'm in the meta, I'm talking about just generally you and I in this world. And that's what in the meta. Okay, then help me come up with a better term for it because I think that might be an example of how I've botched it
it's both. It's yeah.
because I don't like I don't for example I can't accept your definition that meta means the best way because that means somebody chose that and says that it's the best. That doesn't mean that is the best.
Most common. There's a crossover between best and most common because sometimes it's the most common because everyone wants to be the best. Well, I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I shouldn't generalize just everyone, but a high percentage of people want to play the better races, the better whatever in D&D. What about this in person? Is a term you could.
Well, in person doesn't work though necessarily because most of the time when you're playing online, you're not in person, so you really can't say. I mean, in person because they're not. I guess IRL would might be close, but that's not really because IRL in my case I play at game stores, so that is IRL. So we may be at loggerheads.
People will say, "Hey, I just got to do this in IRL," and it's referring to in real life there. So it does work.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say I want need something IRL when they're sitting at a table.
No, it's something you'll type. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's something you would type. It's not something you would say.
Well, some people will just say outside the game. Or,
Right outside the game
but it's
is
a term that people still go don't meta game, which is
to me. Yeah, what does meta game? Don't meta game sounds to me like don't play outside of the current outside the game itself.
don't meta game is don't use. I feel like it all goes into the same thing because metagaming is also looking up information to be the most broken. That's still
That's
you wouldn't do that in the game. It's still outside the game. Where metagaming also is you know it doesn't mean your character knows it. And that's also like they're both outside of the game and relate to a point. If you get what I mean?
boring.
It's knowing your character properly.
When you say properly, what do you mean?
So you've started the game. You haven't even picked the class. This is how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of personality do I want? And maybe what do they look like? Do I want them to be a dwarf or what? I don't look at the what's the class or whatever I want to play. I mean I do a little bit just because I haven't played them all and I want to try them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's hey I want to play an old lady gnome and what and this is her I think what's her personality? How would I want her to be? And I go well what class would that fit with? And then I'll play her and I'll decide. I mean, I'll decide a little bit of a backstory around her for me personally, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit about her, so I know how I want to play her and how she would behave, what spell she'd take,
Mm-hmm.
whether she would be prioritizing healing or combat. Just like so, there's having this battle, and there's how you play the character. And I wouldn't so much. Like my preferred way to play is what happens in the game, or what inner backstory would lead her to then multi-class into something, or an event that's happened, and it's all gone off that personality of the character. I'm not going, hey, I want it to be this sorcerer or that class. I play the character as the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's more, so it's really getting into being a character and not actually going outside of the game much at all. But a lot of people come D&D and they go, I have to win. I have to be able to defeat all that stuff. And
That drives that. Yeah. That.
oh, hang on, one moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem is they're not those sort of people. All you need is one person in the party that goes, I have to be the best. I have to have all the broken stuff. And then all your other people that are happy playing their characters go, oh, my character's suddenly not doing anything. And they're like, oh, well, I have to do a bit of that too, or I just can't do anything. My character can't do anything in combat because this guy over here is so broken. So I feel like that meta character, the meta gamer, the min maxer, or it's sort of a crossover, is the one that then upsets the other players basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's that play to win, and then there's the play for the character and the role play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's going to be a crossover with that, but one player imbalances the other, one type of player imbalances the other. Okay, what were you saying?
Well, when I'm just saying when you say a person is playing the game, what I call normal, a character that is a normal character is built because the player wants to play that, not because it's the best thing, most optimal. I think that when somebody says best, they really mean most optimal. What's going to get me the biggest bang for the buck, which is
Why sometimes the new players are the best players because they don't know what's good and they just play.
well, especially when you say they're new players, they've never played anything, right? A new player to a game might be a veteran and a optimizer. Maybe that's what we use, the term optimizer instead of metagamer. Is that fair? Because that way we separate. Because they're optimizing, they're trying to, as you said, they're trying to win. They're trying to optimize.
It's current meta because if you say current meta, people know that means that's the current what's good.
Well, when you say current, what's good, somebody defined what is current, what's good.
Yeah.
And,
Actually, well, it's not so much that. It's that there's a majority amount of people that say, "Hey, this is good," and other people go, "Yeah, that's good," and that's better than that. So it's in a way, it's a whole lot of play testing that's happened,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
people have collectively gone, "Hey, this class is better." Or you could play in any game. You could have a game that we fly ships, and there might be three ships that are better than all the others. And over time, and people experience, more and more people go, "Oh, that one's better. That one's better," and it gets put in a basket where, and then other people then try those better ships, and that becomes more and more solidified as the better ships, and then suddenly everyone's using the better ships, and no one wants to use the ones that aren't good because they can't play because they get wrecked by anyone else.
Right,
So there's this
right. Yes,
thing.
yes, yes. The meta game as you're describing there is a win lose conversation. The reason why they quote meta game is that they are trying to win, and the problem with that in an RPG is there are no winners.
It's my biggest concern as a medium is whether I'm going online finding random people, and if I end up with those in my game, I know it's common enough to have them, and I don't want them at all.
Oh, see, I want them. I want them. I want them all day long, and I'll tell you why I want them. Because I'm going to educate them on what roleplay is. Because there's somebody else with us today. Hello, hello. Is that you, JG? Is that you, GJ?
Yep, it's me.
All right, GJ Strigley. This is GJ. He's one of the players, a brand new player that came on with us at the game store, and he's going to be a great asset for our conversation. You, GJ just lets you know this is on Twitch and you are live. So
Oh, hi there.
what?
I was not aware of this.
That's why it's
Viewers, it's not like hundreds of people.
it's not it's not million yet. It's not a million yet. It will be someday. We will rule the universe. but but until then, it is an online chat. So keep your tongue civil. I do have a beep button, but I'm not fast enough on the trigger. So
Let me actually switch over to my laptop because I am talking from my tablet because I didn't realize you were broadcasting live too.
yeah, that's already. If you notice the header on the channel, it says live. so it,
Mention of that.
no problem. We'll see when you get back.
Can you move
You
the
got it.
Hey.
live in front of the name, so live game channel, and then it might be a bit.
Sure. I can do anything. I this is well I thought since it is actually
I should have said a good idea would be.
yeah, no worries. No worries.
It'll work on my wording a little bit.
No, that's fine. Wait, you don't have to be precise. I'm the one who has to stop being precise. That's what's gotten us in trouble so far anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to word it in a way where I feel like I'm not saying you have to do this instead of.
Oh, no, no.
Good idea.
No, you should always say, you must do it this way. That way I can say, no, you're not God. I am. No, just kidding. Just kidding. No. See, that always bugged me too. People said, oh, in D&D, you get to be God. It's like, no. I get to be nature. I get to be physics.
Being that you own the game.
No, I get it. No, I get it. I totally get it. Okay, now it says the word live first.
Like it's your promotion, then it's your.
Yeah, I'm still going to announce to everybody that comes online with us that it is live because it's a California law. You can't record unless somebody knows they're being recorded. So,
I think there is a way to have a red circle appear that says live somehow. Just
well, I can go see what that would look like.
I think it actually links in with Twitch, so when you start streaming, it just does it automatically.
Edit channel, age restriction, permissions, integrations. That's webhooks. Invites, no. Permissions, no. I bet it only comes after we've got a few nitros under our belt again.
So there's too many people just want to win, and I want to play for
Right.
free, not play to win.
Yes, and that is
A little bit of winning's good. Like, hey, I got some cool new items, or hey, I advanced my character a bit. But at the same time, I'd like to sit back and hey, I lost against that, to then make your winnings more.
oh yeah. You want to mess with the player? Capture them. You want a player to lose his stuff, lose his mind? Oh, several different ways. Easiest way, especially at low level, sleep. A second level. No. You're rolling, but you're assuming that the roll has to be. If you look at the rules for D&D for GMs, they can choose a level of the effect. So, in other words, if it is a
Player or two that will try and headbutt and roll against anything like that I try to do.
yeah, but that's okay. They can roll against it, but you can do things like give disadvantage. It's a matter of how much you are willing to leverage the situation to guarantee or virtually guarantee your success.
And I guess also the stronger you are in how you just say something and do it, the less likely someone's going to argue sometimes.
Well, if you're
This is so
if you are a storyteller and you are running your game and you are confident in what you say, no one's going to challenge you. It's only when you act like you don't know what you're doing or that you are not sure, then the players will take advantage of it. There. Well, okay. You might want to, your volume's really high, so turn your microphone down a bit. Go to voice and video. Yeah. Bring your input down about 50%.
Testing.
No, still loud. Yeah, you're too loud.
You
Okay,
can
help.
adjust them for yourself as well.
No worries. I'll go ahead and I'll.
Me too. Okay.
Because you can right click and adjust his volume.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's better. That's perfect. Yeah, you should. What you do is when you speak on the while you're looking at voice and video, see if the marker goes to about 50%. If you go to about 50%, should be fine. It's just when you let it go all the way over,
Very slightly.
you could come up a bit. Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm just going to call you G, right? Because GJ sounds weird. So GJ doesn't ring together. I used to be, as an air traffic controller, they went with your first initial, middle initial. So I was Juliet Golf for a long time, and I hated that. So I got permission to change it to Juliet Romeo because my ex's first name was Rhonda. So it was John and Rhonda. So JR was my handle as an air traffic controller. So if you don't mind, I'll just call you G. Is that okay? Alrighty. So G is a brand new player. He walked into our session today and said, "I'm just going to sit in the back and watch if that's okay." And I.
Mistakes, I guess.
Oh, yeah, you'll find that Strig is a card. He's a joker. He's a card. That's what card he is, a joker. Oh yeah, we all do it. As a matter of fact, you show that you love somebody by messing with them. So,
Gotcha.
but anyway,
It works as well if you want to.
I can't because that's my ex's last name now. She married the Yahoo that we were talking about earlier. So no. G Money. That's really funny. We have a character on Tuesday's game who he is playing a what species? Oh, he's playing a Labradoodle sec gen, and he took canine form, so he's actually a dog with human hands, which is creepy. But he carries the name G Money, and he wears a baseball cap, a quarter turn to the left, and lots of gold chains. So he actually pronounces it Jiminy, like Jiminy Cricket, but it's spelled G Money. So yeah. So anyway, G walked into the game today and says, "I'm just going to sit in the back and watch if you don't mind." I said, "I don't mind, but I warn you, as soon as you say something, you'll be playing because that's just the way it goes." And before we could say Jack Robinson, we had a character sheet in his hand, and he was getting set up. Sure.
That's maybe a good question to ask since you're trying to find people.
Hmm.
Asking people what drew you to the game? Like what was your interest? Why did you go? Oh, actually, it
We
looks
were
fun.
just having a regular conversation. I just peeked my head in, and all of a sudden I'm making mistakes. So.
Oh, nice.
From the very beginning, as you can tell.
Oh, yeah. It was a mistake. You're still here, so. That hurts. Ow. I felt that one. So what we're actually talking about is a subject that you're going to be really helpful with if you don't mind being a bit of a guinea pig, since you did stick your head in this room too, just like you did at the game store.
Am I making?
Nah. If you want, just like I said when you were there, I said if you really want to leave, there's the door. But I bet you don't. So.
Got you. Jeez.
Wow.
Apologies.
No worries. No worries. Is that roommates?
Angry father.
Oh, I give honor to all fathers since I am one, and I'm a grandpa now, so I get to make all the bad jokes I want. You can't stop me. It's in the culture, so ingrained in my brain, I guess. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But isn't that true of all of us? We should all be polite. That doesn't always happen. So fair. That's fair. That's fair. And I apologize if we cause any A family conflict. We don't mean to do that.
You're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Hey, was he mainly concerned that he's got to get up early so you'd have to be quiet? Is that what he's suggesting? Okay, we will whisper. All right, whisper quietly. Yeah. No, no, blame me. Always blame. Always blame the game master. He's always to blame. Oh, absolutely, especially outside the game. Why couldn't you? Why didn't you make it to church? Oh, my game master had me up playing a game last night. Why didn't you make it to work this morning? Oh, my game master had me doing a module setup. Yeah, whatever. Blame the game master.
My game was so good the other day that I was spent hours sitting awake trying to think what my character would do next because of all the
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
So what was this guinea pig thing that you were telling me about before I make yet another mistake here?
Oh no. We're actually having a conversation. Let me put the title page back up here so you can see it. Sage advice from Game Master J: How to change the existent world within an existent world, within or without. And we're talking about two subjects at the same time. And right now we were still wrestling with the terms, but now that you're here, we don't have to. In the first case, we're talking about what happens in a game if the game mechanics have already stated what the world will do, and now you want to change that. And in the other conversation, which I was incorrectly calling in the meta, which we have now determined is out of game, in the out of game world, how do we change the world we live in? Because the two are associated and yet are very, very different. So my driving question is to figure out how to change the real world and how do we introduce everybody to playing role play games as we did today.
I feel like you're saying it in a very confusing way. Are you meaning how do you change people's views and how they see role playing games?
Yes, that is that.
Because you're saying it very complex and it sounds quite confusing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you again. This, by the way, Strig has sort of inadvertently become kind of like my conscience.
I'm just ideas on one person giving opinions that if they work.
That's fair. That's fair. But my in my pea brain at least, it's a understanding of how I talk, how words come out of my mouth versus what I'm trying to say, and so he's kind of being the filter because I.
Yeah, how do you make the everyday person? Because at the moment, what the problem is, just what we've been discussing over the last few days, is people are used to playing computer games or console games or whatever, and there's a certain way that role-playing games are played, or well, it's the same with tabletop games. There's a certain way they're played, and they're played to win. They're played to so it's changing people's way they view it because they want it to be a certain way as well because of playing these different games. So it's how do you get people to play it more as like a theater of the mind, the actual story experience over, hey, I have to win, I have to have the best stuff, be the most broken build, all that sort of stuff.
You got it. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. That. He was asking your opinion on that. And there goes his microphone.
Again,
It's back. You're fine. You're good. You're good. Go ahead, G. What do you think? What's your opinion?
Sorry, my headset cut out a couple of moments there. Do you mind repeating that one more time?
am I good?
Yeah, you're good now. One more. Okay, so I'll try to repeat it. What we're asking is how do we convince or guide people who are role players to play the game as a in character role playing game as compared to a external to the game tune fighting machine.
Because at the moment
Okay.
people see games like computer games, etc., and they go, "Oh, that's how you play games. You're the hero, and you have to win, and you have to get loot, and you have to get better and defeat everything." And then tabletop is similar, like D&D's similar. That there's people that play to win and have to have all the best stuff, and then there's those that play for the role play. They play and for the actual story.
Okay. So my my opinion on that would probably be to immerse them in the world. That's one option. The second would be to essentially get them to, as you've done, I believe, during our game session, is to get them to essentially role play out what they're doing, and sometimes to speak in character rather than out of character to their party members. So in the first case, um, developing a good lore book and having interesting events like the one I actually messaged you about earlier,
Mhm.
about how there was a certain person that was attempting to become a dragon, and it spurred a whole bunch of events that have caused basically an upset of power within the continent that you mentioned to me.
Mhm.
And then the other way is essentially, I believe you've done it yourself, to basically act out, or talk to them, the party members in character, like you've done with the financial transactions with that merchant,
Mhm.
and essentially encourage that sort of speak. You can get them to speak in character. You can probably get them to think in character. And if you get them immersed in the world and lore, then you can also get them to consider some of that in their actions. Like, for example, if I note that the sky is purple or mauve, as you put it in the lore book, because
Mhm.
I mentioned it a little earlier,
Okay.
it'll get people into the mindset that this isn't our world.
Mhm.
This is another planet.
Mhm.
The world of Nikos is
Nycos. It's with a long Y. No, it's okay. It's just you don't know, and you're new to it, so no big deal. It's Nycos.
Nikos.
Yeah.
The world of Nikos is actually floating around a protostar called Nimbus,
Yep.
which itself is basically a binary star with the sun of Helios.
Yep.
Now an amateur. I don't know this. I haven't read it properly.
You just see in 1 second. In 1 second, there, G, you went from being the newbie to the veteran. See. Only in reference to the lore. When it comes to the mechanics, you're probably also still a veteran though, because one of the biggest reasons for our conversation. Yeah, part of our conversation here is about the fact that Strigg loves what I'm trying to do, but he is not even really sure what it is I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm.
If I can avoid reading it, then I'll do it. Unless I want to look up something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
If
No,
I'm
I
making a
understand that.
character,
Like,
then I'll look details up.
as I've mentioned to Game Master Jay here, the um, the system book is a fantastic core rule book. There's a lot of mechanics that are just completely down pat. Not to mention the little sheet that's included with every copy
Mm-hmm.
helps a player get up and ready quickly. However, it does only the barest of essentials when it comes to lore building and world building. And I understand that there's a desire to have a DM create the world and foster it, but fostering a world within a world is very much a possibility.
Right.
All great houses are built on good foundations.
Oh, ooh, that's a great quote. Would you please type it? Type that into the Discord. The way you just said that, type that into Discord, and I'm going to quote you. That is very well said.
All great houses are built on great foundations.
That, yes, which is really great because, of course, Nycos has foundations, the base. Sure,
Get
sure.
someone else's opinion about what we were talking about yesterday. Is that Jonathan's trying to advertise the game for its foundation system and the mechanics of how Nikos work. And people he's finding it interested in, oh, I want to know about the story world and stuff. So as the foundation and say, hey, you can take your own story and put it on. You can take whatever game system, D&D, etc., modify it slightly and use the Nyko system. But people aren't seeming to get that. They seem to think that, oh yeah, I'm interested in your world and those details.
Well, I mean, of course, you could also bake the world itself into the details of the game lore and how it works.
Okay, now thank you. You opened up my side of this discussion because the point that I'm trying to make in this all is that I feel that we as creators and adventure game players are dependent way too much on imitation over innovation. And so when I leave the book without a lore overlay, I'm intending that to be the case so that other game masters will build their lore. I want to give them the tools, I want to give them the assets and resources to do it, but I want them to actually build it for it themselves. If that makes sense.
There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but what I'm saying is that you can essentially have a story within a story. For example, if there's a great war going on between two races with major commanders at one front and commanders at another, you can have the story take place during that time. It's like with, I would say, like with Mech Warrior, where there is an overarching story, but you can also build your own story within that, you know, set of guidelines.
So
Mm-hmm.
you're suggesting taking, for example, a D&D module and having the game master like mold it and change it a bit to fit into the actual Nikos world, so that it then fits
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and the foundation of Nikos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm stating that it has to be D&D.
No, we aren't either. We aren't either. Both of us have talked about the fact that this kind of concept here is to be non-lore specific because, as you and I talked about at the store, this project is actually right at this moment 7 modules, 7 lore books, if you will, or it's going to be system books for the mechanics and lore books for the actual world. So, in answer to your question that you asked in Discord, but you didn't ask in person yet, there is going to be a separate lore book for Nikos as a world, including all of the 8 iterations, what happened in each one, who the heroes and champions were in those in those places and times, so that players can build their version of the story including those ancient historical figures.
Gotcha.
So the big thing with Nikos is just it's more the narrative experience that you're going for, the role playing narrative, from what I understand anyway.
Actually, my character. Oh wait. Oh, you're talking to him.
No, I mean, or just generally.
Say it one more time because I didn't quite catch it.
So Nikos, you're going for like the narrative and the role play. It's the story. It seems to be like the main focus.
Right.
Where I feel like the problem you're seeing is that all these game systems are overcomplicating things and adding all their rules and actually making it harder for game masters and for players and causing problems where all they got to do is take back a whole lot, remove a whole lot of it and make it more simpler.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would say that it's pretty. It seems very straightforward in how rules and actions, equipment, among other things, are handled within Nycos RPG. It doesn't seem particularly bloated, and according to the blurbs at the front, not another. What was it? What was the campaign? Sorry, the marketing campaign you stated.
Oh, the quote now naturally your choice of systems or not your clumsy old system.
Not your clumsy old system. So that's a thing that I wanted to bring up. It's not clumsy. It's not clunky. It's not bloated.
But
It's
there's
very
knowing that.
straightforward.
The problem is knowing that we know that, but how can we? Because Jonathan's big thing is how can he advertise that to other people that don't know about Nikos? That it's something that they can try and not sound like just one of the other game systems.
Well, the thing is, advertise the fact that it's very straightforward. Advertise democratize the fact that you don't have to, especially for newcomers like myself. I'm extremely new to the tabletop RPG. This was literally the first tabletop RPG I've ever experienced, and it's not bad, not bad at all. I mean, the room was a little, the room was kind of all over the place.
well, no, okay. The thing that's really funny is they weren't randoms. Those players in that room have been playing together for almost a year and a half.
Oh, I take that back then. Wow.
There was the pair, the father daughter team, where she came in and then left and came back. The two of them have been gone for about 5 weeks, and Verthika has been gone for a couple of weeks. So they all were needing to be ramped back up to speed, but they've all been playing together for a long, long time. And so it felt random, mainly because they are so broadly spread in species. Because we have a peck, and we have a lacertine lizard folk, and we have a human cleric, a human engineer, and a what would you call the third one? A half elf, a walker, wizard. But the concept here of their classes is only perception, because they're actually built under the Nycos mechanism, so they don't have.
No, what I was saying that is that it was kind of, I would say mostly because of human interactivity, it felt like a relatively clunky experience. But maybe it's just because people come from different parts of life. And number two, this is actually my only reference for when it comes to actually playing a tabletop RPG.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like the videos I've seen on like YouTube, for example, are like kind of highly curated.
Yes. Yes.
Not like that at all in real life.
It's a big thing with especially with D&D. There's this guy called Matt Mercer, and that's one of them. But a lot of it is actually hired actors, and it's more of a TV show. And people go, oh, I don't want to play because
It doesn't come out like that, right?
that's most games don't come out like that. It's more the enjoyment of being together and having fun. Like,
Yes.
and then as you learn the game, you might get a bit better at it. You might role play a bit better, but at the same time, it's more the fun of being there in the group and the story that's going on.
Yes, I mean, that was part of my point, but the other part of my point was that it's not necessarily the group's fault that everything. I mean, it's not necessarily the game's fault that it felt kind of just. How would I describe the atmosphere? Kind of
All over the place.
place. It's not the game's fault. It was honestly the gameplay part of it when we actually did roll, when we actually read fortune, when we actually, rolled for action. All of that was extremely straightforward, and
So
that's
this could be
especially something you could highlight.
this could be as simple as maybe you might work better with different people. It could be just player personality. Maybe you didn't quite vibe with him, and you might vibe with a different group better.
Oh no, it was fine. It was just I remember this is my first reference for experiences.
Right. His only.
To the group. Number two, I have no clue how an actual group kind of runs. I've only once again seen curated experiences on YouTube. So I mean, I don't think that there was anything necessarily wrong about our experience. I enjoyed it, even if it felt like we barely got anything done in terms of the actual campaign.
I see. Okay. That you bring up a great point. This group has moved, if you will, from a full length 6.5 year story arc campaign to the sandboxy interim between campaigns. You literally came in at the perfect spot for a brand new player, because there is no, until you guys decided on it, there was no long-term agenda for the group. And that's why it was so clunky, is because the players were actually having to decide what they were going to be doing. So their intention of hunting down the Jubilethans was specifically the player, Victor, thinking it was going to be a way of generating or creating the environment of a campaign. He was looking for them, for me as the game master, to give guidance through an NPC.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I understand that. It's just once again, I have no reference.
No, no worries.
But there's a new time for everything.
I tuned in the other week to one of their online.
Mm-hmm.
It's so boring because I'd come into it.
Yeah, I'm laughing because he got to play with Gene today, and so he knows, he doesn't even realize that you're talking about Gene, but he's talking about the Sunday game, and Gene and her group was trying to figure out what they were going to do with their windfall. They had lots and lots of cash, and they were trying to figure out what to do with it. Yeah, he would. That's what I'm saying. He would agree with you on that because he had to watch her today in action, and
Especially when she attempted haggling and how the conversation seemed to keep escalating. I'll tell you what, for what the party lacked in focus, it most certainly made up for in personality.
well, this was his day one, so I would he would probably more than likely play a lot of different games over time. So, but I
Play a lot of different games over time.
because every storyteller plays differently,
This is true.
and now I could be my typical self and say you'll never find one like me again because I'm the best that has ever been, but then I sound a little bit like Lucifer. Yeah, like exactly. Yeah, the person that hacked my site, right? I knew you were going to say that. No, just kidding. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, so far, the experience I had wasn't bad. Unfocused, but he gave a good explanation to as why it was unfocused. And I honestly like to kind of see this through a little bit more. And this is coming from a brand new player who played his very first tabletop experience
Mm-hmm.
today.
There are two other groups. There's another group that plays upstairs. Yeah. Oh, the space game is my Friday game, and I've mentioned to him, but he can't play in it because of his schedule. And then I mentioned the new Saturday game that you and I were putting together, and he potentially up for that because it's early, and that's fair. It's 10 in the morning, my time, which is 8 o'clock your time, 7 o'clock your time, p.m. Yeah, right. Because we're 9 hours apart, right? 4. So 10 until 2 my time, which would be 7 until 11. Oh, thank you. I don't want to drive my players completely crazy.
Because here's probably a good time. So is it sort of thing I have to play every week, or I could just play when
That's never the case on Nycos because of the injunction.
because I DM D and D sometimes Saturdays, my Saturdays, and then
Well,
Sunday morning I have or every second week I have a D and D game Sunday morning.
my plan for Saturday would be sort of a role play roulette because we're going to do a session 0 the first time to say what people want because we're just going to be teaching the basics of how the game works. People who know will be.
Give it a go since I haven't dove it. I mean I've looked at your quick rules and things like that and
Mm-hmm.
quantum, but I haven't actually dived deep into
Mm-hmm.
the game
Mm-hmm.
specifically. I've just liked what I've seen of it so far from what I've watched. I mean, of the space group, the other one was not quite my cup of tea.
Oh, now that's okay, but that well, okay. I also will clarify that because you came in literally on a, if you will, a moderately high level character group who had just completed a quest and had big piles of cash to spend, it made it a boring part for you. So on the
At the same time, I didn't understand that cash didn't mean anything in your world, basically.
oh yeah, we had that conversation today, didn't we, G?
I did.
I
Yeah. Essentially, while in certain places wealth may, mean a lot, it's more material wealth than actual fiat wealth.
I like that word, fiat wealth. That's a good one.
Because all I heard was like, oh, they have heaps of money. And I'm thinking, what's the point of playing if your players have enough money to do everything they want?
Oh, because people don't adventure only for money.
Well,
This
not
is
just
true.
that, but they can't carry it all round. And if you come up to your example, if you have your highest quality of coin and you're offering it to some poor merchant, he's like, I can't give you change, and if you
Exactly.
charge me that, that's going to bring me trouble.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
That's one thing. Another thing is that it's kind of difficult to spend all that cash at once. It's very difficult to get those, as you mentioned, higher denominations
Where
turned
do you
into
get
lower
change for it?
denominations.
Yeah.
You buy countries. You buy castles.
Yeah, but you don't want that when you're a poor fruit merchant.
But remember in Nikos, if you start with a character that has 10 to 15 gold pieces by D&D's measure, you're already in the 1% on Nikos.
Yeah, I mean,
So therefore, you're a jet setter. You're a jet setter. You can go anywhere you want and do whatever you want, and so therefore you're not bound to the struggle of a level 1 D&D character where you have to worry about whether or not you're going to eat tonight.
I mean, there's the 1%, and then there's the 0.001%.
And I'm sure he has a class for those sorts of coins. That sort of wealth is the kind that's traded between countries, not between people.
Those items and things.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about trillions of dollars. This
Well,
isn't something one person owns. This is something that
well, millions. The largest minted coin is 1 million gold pieces.
true, but I'm sure that there's countries in there.
Yeah, there are individuals like great example. Grand Dragons, the Master Dragons. Yeah, they have that kind of dough. They've been sitting on it for 500 years.
Yeah, in Nikos.
Nikos.
Excuse me.
No, we'll get you. It's okay. No, I'm being helpful. Not.
Nycos RTD. Sorry, R2D. No, I don't know.
Tomato. Nikos.
Nice.
No. Anyway, as I was saying, it seems like in Nikos that it's more what you have rather than the amount of currency that you hold that is far more useful. Even when I was reading the lore passages, when it came to cultural background, it seemed that it was less the fiat wealth that you hold and more the material wealth of gems, jewels, and other trade fodder that's easy to move compared to just fiat capital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he like.
Makes the difference.
Actually, because there's a problem I've got in D&D where I give my players interesting magical items and they don't figure out what they are properly, and then they just sit there with them. And I'm like, plot device and you're not using it, but I don't want to prompt and give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Encourage it to be used in a certain way.
That's what
Situation.
he tried.
Stone. So if it's a stone and they know when it's hit or thrown that it does something magical. So if I can somehow just have an NPC come up and like, oh, something about skipping stones over water or something, they might think of it maybe. I don't know.
I mean, not just necessarily an NPC or combat might work, but at the same time, yeah, just introduce a situation that would encourage them to do something with it.
Well, it's a stone that they don't know, but they know that random things happen when they hit it with something.
Well, I mean, you
And
can
they,
tell me because I'm not in your D&D group.
yeah.
You can tell me exactly what it does.
No, because they might be listening in. Oh, my channel's so small they wouldn't come and look at it. Yeah, I get it. Well, I have to make you feel valuable, you know.
The full law around it, but it's a stone where a wizard has made it to get revenge on a town that he doesn't like. And what happens is when it's thrown, or when it's thrown with move, or it moves basically, it causes things to teleport from that town to where the stone is. So the players are busy hitting it with things, and there's a table, and there's a basket of muffins and things, and what was it? I had a random hat, just things that were from this town, just vanishing. And the whole idea is that they'll keep using it casually, and they might have a member of that town that can't remember anything that gets transported, and just think maybe a small shack and just things from that town that end up where the players are, and then
Okay, so
eventually they're traveling, and then they come across this town that says it talks about, oh, everything's going missing and this is happening, and then the players go, oh, that's where it's all coming from.
yeah, so that I smell a quest opportunity here. Essentially, the party will come across a notice of some sign of some kind on some sort of message board, some sort of physical quest board, saying, "Hey, we've got these people missing. We need help finding them." That sort of deal. And it
But how
seems
do
like
I link that to the stone though?
a relatively simple quest. So they would head over to that town to get more information on it, and lo and behold, they discover that it's the stone that's doing it in one interaction or another.
So my problem is that they haven't used the stone enough to cause enough problems. So I'm trying to find a way to prompt them to use the stone more so that it does more to the town. So
That's
they've
fair.
used it 3 times, and they know it refreshes once a day, and it hasn't been used again yet. I mean, it's only been like I think 2 days
Well,
into the game.
have you not to play a game master advocate here, but what if they could occasionally hear the voices from the other side? So you could have.
Just hear a voice and go without.
So they hear a voice saying, "Oh no, it's happening again! Oh no, it's happening again!" And then something appears in there.
So I need something to prompt them to use it.
Yeah. So the
Random event, and then while the event is occurring, the stone activates, and you can hear the voices from the other side as the event unfolds. So that might not necessarily be a bad idea.
So I'm just not sure if the players were connected as. Or I could have it
if
where
it if okay, a good example,
carrying it falls over or something happens.
right? That's one way.
Use it.
That's one way. But what I was going to suggest is that maybe it happens while they're carrying it, and it like rips their bag because it's a lawn chair. Rip.
Fall over.
Yeah.
Lawn chair comes.
Lawn chair comes flying out, and the voice says, "Damn it! It happened again." From the stone.
I just have it keep happening while it's in their
Yes.
bag, and they don't have
You
to.
told me it was a curse.
Fall over.
You specific.
Or they get picked up and dropped, or anything that would cause.
The thing to be jostled. Yep.
So
Yes.
there might be some muffins in your bag, and you smell muffins, or maybe they're going through their bags of things, and you say, well, going through your bag, you realise that there's a teapot in there that wasn't there before.
Yeah. I think it would be hysterical if a hot coal from somebody's fireplace ends up in their bag. Your bag is on fire. How is my bag on fire? I don't know, but there's a chunk of coal in there, hot as H, burning a hole right in your back. Get the backpack off, or you'll start taking damage.
So you hear someone like just muffling inside, and you realise that some old lady's been teleported into your bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'll do.
That's a event to get them to figure out, something weird is going on with this stone.
Mm-hmm.
Even the things like the odd potion and things that would turn up too.
Mm-hmm.
Are just funny things as well.
Even more points to figure out that the stone, the villagers to figure out that this stone has been causing all these things, and then suddenly blame the party and claim that they're stealing stuff from them.
I don't know where they're holding it, so I just prompt them and ask, "Oh, where are you? Where do you keep your magic items?" Because I don't know where a player would be holding.
Well, okay, so that this is a good example of game master advocating player logistics. So, for example, in Nycos, especially when you're starting out new, I Gumby it. You can bring anything you want. You can grab any loot you want. You can grab any belongings you want to say you have to start with. I don't care. You can put down you got a chest of 100 gold pieces. Cool. Means you're already super rich, so now I don't have to worry about anything else for you. But you got to tell me how you're carrying that chest of 100 gold pieces. That chest is going to weigh a couple dozen pounds. Plus, it's got 5 pounds worth of gold in it. So that's now 25 pounds. How are you carrying it? Are you strapping it to your back? Are you?
Could I just ask each player, "Hey, can I?"
You can always ask to look at their character sheet.
We'll just ask them, "Hey, how's it? I mean, is it worth asking them to put notes somewhere that where they're putting it, or is it a bit too complicated saying, "Can you?"
Well, I would just say, look, we're building a character. The game is mostly play theater of the mind because I'm not going to be making a model of your character that looks exactly like it. So since it's being played theater in the mind, I kind of need to know where you're carrying stuff. Like, for example, a person that carries a sword and a knife more than likely has both on the belt, one on the left, one on the right. Where are you having it? And oh, by the way, you've got a backpack, and so in the backpack, are you carrying your bedroll inside the backpack, or are you strapping it on the bottom? And you kind of lead them to give you the description. And on the way, you say, "Oh, that stone you got, is that being carried in the bag, or you got a sack on your hip, or find out from them." And when you do it with a large amount of information, they'll have no idea what you're really going for, and you really don't care as a game master.
Ask. I say, "Oh, so whereabouts are you holding your axe?" "Oh, it's on your belt." "Okay. Where are you holding?" Just
Yeah,
like a different player, something. "Where are you holding this?" And they're
right,
like, "Oh, the stone."
right.
And I won't use it at all that session, but I'm ready for that following session to go, "I know where the stone is."
Yeah, that's fine. Exactly. I would, it wouldn't be bad if you did it in the same session if you've asked a half dozen questions to each one of them, so that they are aware that you're gathering information on what they have on their belongings, and anything that they have might be the next trigger. So, yeah.
Whenever each one, I asked them 5 items. Were you keeping that stone,
Yep.
hat that you got, or whatever?
Yeah. Where's that bottle you stole? Callback. That's callback to another game the game we were talking about.
They half drunk it, and then it ended up being thrown at a harpy.
Okay.
It was used to increase the fire damage.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because they had a panic moment that they were going to die, so they used whatever they had flammable to try and.
Yep. Yep. I get it.
Yeah, that's fair. You kind of want to avoid as much as possible an actual party wipe.
Yeah. Which is another big plus of the NycosRPG because TPKs can't happen.
Interesting.
The reason,
Explain to me yet.
yeah, the reason a TPK can't happen is remember we got rid of the hit point pools, and we made it incredibly dangerous to fight when you're losing fatigue because that reduces your number of actions. So you will get like Jean got whacked today. She actually used a wish in a place where the magic was powerful enough, and she rolled well enough that the wish actually worked, and she ended up getting hit with a case of wine and it broke her leg. And she got wiped for 50% of her fatigue. Now she'll get it back, but the damage that she actually took 4 points of four actually wound points, which is 4 ticks of wounds, so about 20% of her efficiency. And therefore, if they hadn't healed it immediately, she could have gotten infected and essentially died of it. So that kind of lethality, that kind of injury, means that if you're in a fight and you've gotten stabbed twice and you've got 4 points of damage, you don't want to fight anymore. You want out of there. And what you didn't get to see is that in a conflict, in actual combat, it ends when somebody wins and somebody loses. So if I'm rolling against you and you've rolled any level of success from partial success to complete success, and I've rolled a failure, you've won the fight. I don't care how many hit points I have left over. You have how many wounds I have left. You have won the fight. You have gotten the upper hand on me. You got the dagger to my throat, and then based on the number of levels of success, you get to put conditions on me. So therefore, you can say, okay, well, you're on the ground. I got the sword at your throat, and your weapon's been removed. Those are conditions you as a player get to invoke on the other person if you win. Conversely, if they win, they can do the same to you. So it leads to a lot more dramatic conclusions that feel more cinematic, more like a real movie would end than in the way game sessions normally end, where there's bloodbath.
You trip over and you're on the ground.
Yep. Yeah. It could be whatever the player envisions would be the coolest thing to do right at that moment. And so because of that, the potential for lethality is really high, but the moral implications are much higher as well. I mean, the idea of murdering somebody, I mean, you've got him in an advantage. You've got him on the ground. You've got your knife at his throat. Do you want to actually kill somebody? Because there will be ramifications. There will be, yes.
It also could, go into the backstory of a character, especially if those two characters have history, and a negative one at that.
Well, especially if it's a villain. Yeah. That's why we did yesterday I went through the 100 rules of being an evil overlord and explained how they should work as a game master. It was fun. I was on for almost 3 hours last night. If you get a chance to watch that video, it's really cool because I actually state the rule and then discuss whether it should or should not be played that way by a game master. Like all of my passwords are very difficult. And I'm like, no. Every password I have should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because you want the players to actually find the solution. You actually want them to get into the data.
Yeah, you're going to want a little bit more difficulty.
Well, okay. Here's the reason why I went that over. I intentionally oversimplify, and the reason to intentionally oversimplify is this: what we just were talking about earlier is that players are not as sophisticated or as intelligent as you think they might be, and no matter how clever you are as a game master, you're not going to be able to present clues that the players are necessarily going to get. This is. Okay. I get that, but I'm just telling you, when you play in a system, if you don't make it simple enough for them to solve on their own in 3 or 4 minutes, it's not going to be worth your time because they will bog down and sit and argue about how to solve it rather than actually solving it.
No, I understand.
And that's only I'm only saying that from an experienced voice. I'm not trying to pick a fight here. I'm just clarifying that the simplification.
You can do a chain of hints, though. Maybe they find different hints.
Like, for example, how about if you have a lock that has 3 different pictograms, one of a bird and one of a spear,
Mhm.
of maybe a sword.
Mhm.
And as you, the first implication is, okay, how do we solve this? How about I search around the room for clues?
Right. No. I follow you. I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree. All I was meaning is that if you have a choice between making it a really, because the point of the evil overlord comment was, if you want your overlord to actually win, then he's not going to have his guys all wear the same uniform, right? They're not all going to dress like Nazis, because if they did, then the good guys would know.
Not going to have gaps in the security in times when there's areas between shifts when the players can come in and sneak through. They're just going to have more people and the players can't do anything.
Right, and so therefore in counter, I would say, no, the rules should not be, I don't have gaps. As a matter of fact, I should have gaps wide enough to allow the party to walk in with a brass band if they want to, because they are still going to be uncertain until they finally decide to do it. So give them every opportunity. And so that's all I was doing, was walking through the rules. And yes, oversimplifying was what I was doing, but I'm just suggesting that there are players that wouldn't be able to get it if you gave them every clue in the book, because they're there to win the game. They're not there to actually solve your puzzles.
True, I understand that, but I mean, if you make the requirements to figure it out in terms of roles for searching, even if
I don't.
dunce and completely unaware of themselves,
Right.
unaware of what's around them, like make a book that's lying open on a table. Oh, here's a diary. What's in the diary? Give a simplistic, list of events. Oh, here's a clue, etc., etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
Combination to the box.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple.
No, I get it.
Necessarily have to be 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, I did not. I was only, again, I was oversimplifying intentionally to get effect. I was not actually suggesting that you would do it that way.
And sometimes you do have to design, and
Well,
in real life, you have to design for the lowest common denominator and intelligence.
well, and that's what actually spawned part of our conversation, was that somebody actually told me that if I wanted to get people to understand this role-playing system, that I had to, quote, talk down to people as if they were 10 years old and never played a role-play game before in their life. And I felt that was insulting. I felt that was kind of insulting to role players, because we're not 10 years old. And we have at least the idea of what a role play game is in most of our heads. But that wasn't what he was. Well, all he was saying is that what he was really saying is, don't tell me about the mechanics. Tell me about the lore. And I didn't realize that's what he was saying.
What are your thoughts, Strigley?
On what aspect?
I said, what are your thoughts?
And he said, what aspect?
Oh, what aspect?
You're talking about how complex
Mainly,
the puzzles and stuff need to be.
what would you define as? Give me an example of what you would define as an acceptable level or a lowest common denominator of intelligence.
I mean, it depends on your group
This is true.
and your group and the age. And if something's too simple for me and there's no challenge, I don't want to play it. I want some challenge. If I'm going through and I'm defeating everything, I'm like, what's the point? I want a reason to better my player, or times when I lose, so that when you win, it feels so much better. Times where it's that hard that you just beat it and you get through, and that win is so much more satisfying because
And
you know how tough it was.
understandable. And another thing I wanted to bring up is another possibility. For such as solving, like opening like a chest that potentially contains, that's made out of an extremely durable material. There doesn't really seem like an easy way to lockpick it. It's magically guarded. You
You'd
could
be
have
open. You'd be open to the player's ideas as well. If they're creative enough to come up with a way, and you go, actually, I'll allow that to work.
true,
Like
but
I
I
had
was
a
going to.
puzzle. I had a puzzle in the room, and my players were able to find where the mechanic was of the puzzle that opened, and they had good strength rolls, and they were able to force and lift this heavy concrete, and they got in that way.
This is true. I was going to use it as a setup for a quest, though. And just, exactly remember how I said, what if I wished for this entire quest to be over with? If you just defeat the puzzle for a whole quest that you set up, it's kind of a bit of a letdown. I mean, you could let it slide.
It annoys your DM, especially if you're organized it as the DM.
Yeah, it would annoy the ever living crap out of the
I
DM.
had that. I had that. I mean, this it was sort of from a module.
Well, do you recall? Do you recall what my answer was to your request?
What was your answer?
You don't remember. That's funny. He said, "What happens if I request that the adventures?" The issue is that the person that was, quote, granting the wish was requiring them to pay amount of time, and so it was like, yeah, we can do that, but it'll be 30 years that you have to give up. He's like, oh, okay, I can see you don't want me wishing for more wishes. Exactly.
Yes. But I guess there is a way. It just comes to the DMs outsmarting the players in this case.
Or they make the wish and it doesn't trigger till next session. And between those sessions, the DM goes, "Okay, this is how they said it. How many different ways can that be interpreted?" So
Oh no, I'm good enough to do that on the fly. I'm a good.
Ploying this?
What's that?
Are we monkey ploying?
No, yeah, no. My point was that I'm a quick enough game master. I wouldn't have to wait till next week. We'll go ahead and fix it right now. Sure, you can go ahead and wish that. Go ahead. Is that what you really want to wish? Are you sure you want to do that? Okay.
I wish I could defeat all my enemies instantly.
Granted.
Now guess what? You've got more enemies.
No, now you're freaking Connor McLeod. Monsters run from you.
I mean, how's it a bad thing?
They run into your partner, your allies, and get advantage on attacks because they're so frustrated with the fact they can't get to you.
But they're not running, it's defeating.
What?
Is running away kind of, and there's, I guess,
If you look at the rules, if you look at the rules of Dungeons and Dragons in particular, it says if a monster runs from you, it's the same as defeating it.
and I guess, and if they're like, oh, I wish I could kill all my enemies instantly, yeah, granted, they're all undead now, they come back.
Yeah, or worse yet, he makes that player automatically a friend with every villain he runs into. I grant you that. Yes, you can definitely do that. But now every villain you run into is your friend, and everybody knows it, and you're now implicated in every crime of the century.
Well, you must be the biggest villain that they're all running from you. Like, what have you done?
Exactly. Exactly. When what kind of a role play experience is that when your entire party can't get anything done because they're always being associated with the biggest villains in town?
And the NPCs are like, I saw that run from you. You must be so scary. I'm not dealing with you.
Exactly. Now you can't fight anymore. It's like, well, go ahead, make it so you'll always win. I guarantee you'll always win every fight you get into. You just won't get into anymore ever. Your fighting skill will remain the same for the next 50 years. Exactly.
Exactly. Until there's something that's, strong enough to defeat you, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with skill that are completely.
No, because he said he will always win every fight he's in. It's like, yep. Okay, every fight you're in, you will win. Yes. So you stab the bad guy stabs you, you're both dead. There we go, game over. Good job. Yes, you still won because you're dead. Yep. Million ways to mess with players, but that's really not the objective of a game master.
Depends how broken your player tries to be. How crazy they make a wish and,
Very true. I mean, once again, it's when it comes to theater of the mind, it's also a battle of wits.
Mm-hmm.
You and the player.
Yep.
which can be a problem because it's 1 DM versus how many players?
Jim always wins.
Because it's their world.
No, just no. If you're like, for example, when you were dealing with the situation where your players were running a rough shot of the story, until you realize as a game master you got control over that, you're going to always have that problem. But once you know that, then all of the all they want to get into can be stopped. All you have to do is choose to stop it. Well, this map's coming along pretty good. Have you guys looked at the maps in the art gallery? Yeah, you're familiar with most of them, Strig, because you were there for me building many of them.
Have you posted the updated one yet, or no?
Or no, the one I'm working on right now, Elsadar. No, and I haven't. Yeah, I don't recall whether I updated. No, I have not updated where you are currently. It's worth your playing, so I'll go ahead and get that one built up this next week. I don't need to now until next Monday. So. unless you guys demand it. So if you really want it, what you do is you get a hold of the other players in the group and say, whine a lot, because Jonathan will make it. Like the map of Elwindale that I made for Jean. She's one of my super fans. He found out today she drives. What's that? Yeah, that too. But she owns 7 hexes of Nycos and wants to buy 3 more because she wants to own the mountain range to the water. Yeah. She actually would, if she had the money, I think she would buy a continent. Right. If there's a war, it's her decision whether or not the country backs it. Yep. Yeah, and it's like those sim games. She can influence the amount of money that the country own backs. Yep, you're allowed by your rank to have it up to 5 inputs. So if you're a supreme or sovereign or whatever the top one is, you get to give me 5 triggers for your country. That's the best. And most people aren't going to go for that. Most people are going to own 1, maybe 2 hexes, because they're wanting to use it for their own game world. And as she pointed out, 1 hex is 625 square miles. It's a lot of territory. Yeah, each hex on that map of you, if you look at the overall large map of Nikos, you'll see it's got a hex grid across it. Each of those hexes is 650 square miles. Barbos, the city itself takes up a hex. So yeah, that city alone is a monster. Think Thieves World, or think um what's the one in Pirates of the Caribbean? The pirate capital. There's the T. Yeah, I'll think of it here in a second. It'll pop back into my head. I say Tivoli, but that's not it. But anyway, yeah, it's a massive trade den, and it's also Barbas is the capital of the pirate. The 7 sea princes. They're brothers who, for the last iteration, controlled the sea, and now it's been dissolved to the Sea King. So the Sea King is the last of the 7 princes, and he controls the whole place. But when I say he controls, he's barely holding on, because all of the factions that have dissolved from his brotherhood now leaving the pirate kingdom on the edge of collapse. But the reason why the map is complete like that, I actually showed Gene today. I have, and it was there today at the store. I have the original 1978 version of the map, and that map has been exigent with changes each iteration to the one that you saw on this site, which is the newest iteration. It's the 9th iteration map. But having the map go all the way back to the 1970s is kind of cool. That the world has altered and changed, and peak governments move and all of that. But the reason why it exists is that as a game master, I used to hate at the fact that I would spend a week or 2 weeks doing like I'm doing right now. I'm building up a map, and then I show it to the players, and they go, "Yeah, that looks scary. We're not going there." And then they go do something else. Right? Just literally drive off the edge of the map and go, "No, we're going to go left. We're not going to go onto your map. We're going to go do something else." So I ended up having to play theater of the mind anyway. So when I was 78, I was 16. I said, "Screw this. I want to know where everything is all the time." And so I created the map so that at any given point, I have the Wandering Monster list, the NPC list, the SPC list, the RPC list, in theory at least, all held together, so no matter where the players go, I know what's going on. So they can go where they want to, but I can immediately turn to another page in the book and be perfectly fine as a storyteller. So the entire world is mapped. I know what's going on in every one of those hexes, and even though it's 625 square miles, I know generally what kind of beings, what kind of animals, what kind of food sources, resources, etc., are in each one.
Just a quick question. What is that capital that's north of Barbos?
Capital north of Barbos. Let me go.
Is it that major city that's north of Barbos?
Un momento, por favor.
Right down the river.
Yeah, I gotta pull it up and look through it.
It says Draconium, but I'm assuming that's the name of the empire.
Draconium is the nation. Yep. Let's see. What is that capital? That capital? No, the capital. Okay, the fact that it's in yellow, Draconium is the capital. It's the nation. The nation is also named Draconium, and that's the way many kingdoms are. They're city-states fundamentally. So Draconium was all of Swarthir. So from Barbas all the way north to Elwindale, it was one empire. That was it was originally the Swarthir Empire, which was ruled by the Morrowind Sekgen. So it was the Packmen, which are pachyderm men, elephant folk, and lion, and the lion Sekgen Phaline, called Fargol. And the Fargol and the Packmen shared rulership and switched kingdoms every 50 years by law. And then along comes a Bathrikeen, a lizard folk that wished to become a dragon. And throughout the end of the second half of the iteration was trying to fulfill the prophecy of a dragon reborn. And so they were trying to become the dragon. And so they were known as the Chosen. And that was the one I talked about being a non-binary. They were destroyed in the end days of the iteration. And nonetheless, they had successfully taken the capital of Slumber, which is no longer on the map, and instead established their kingdom capital at Draconium. So all the city names you see in yellow are known, and that means if you visit any one of those cities, there actually is a monorail train station. It's basically a steampunk style magic that connects every city by a time train, and you can actually go from city to city to city. And therefore, if you notice, a lot of the spaces are completely empty of every type. Every mountain, for example, doesn't have a name on it or anything. That's because that all of the rest of the map has yet to be explored in this iteration. This is the beginning of the iteration. So all knowledge of what goes on inside the countries has fallen away because the capitals have kind of insulated themselves and protected themselves. So the cities are known, but the rest is not. Oh sure, no, absolutely. That's what. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yep, exactly. Even more, yeah, it can actually be more strident than that. If they say what I want, you say, and I don't know enough about it. So you as a mod will help me on that. I don't know how to build those points processes, but yeah, we can make it so the name a town, name a location, name a. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, let me go. I'm gonna go look. I haven't seen that part. I'm on the. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay.
1,000 points and you create an NPC
Yeah.
that the current story that's been streamed, maybe if you're streaming with a group, you get to create an NPC
Sure.
maybe they PM it to you or whatever the details, and
Well, you could even
turn up in a session.
you could actually mechanize that to say that they can pick three of the following nouns, three of these adjectives, and three of these adverbs. Any one of those three, and therefore they built the NPC using my own system. Yeah, and therefore we're promoting the concept and we're fomenting the agenda. Yeah, it works. Yeah, I just have to work on how to do that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it yet. I'm just saying.
Right. No, I got you. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, and like the Saturday game that we're talking about, I imagine that we're just going to make it one of the exploratory missions.
Like 1,000 points, you can maybe influence something that's moved, or maybe either wind blew the door open. Or,
Yeah.
like so chat can interact a little bit.
Yep. Oh yeah. No.
Or maybe some mundane item that's not important. It turns up maybe the players need water, and hey, an empty bottle.
Hey, we could have a convert your favorite nudes. Now,
You can have 1,000 points and empty bottle turns up.
I know that just saying that probably just freaked out G for a second. He doesn't know what the hell we're talking about when I say converting a nude. Nude stands for non-essential window dressing. NEWS, so NEWD, and that's referring to the non-player characters that don't really have a purpose in the story. They're just somebody who walks through. It's
See that it's just walking around the town that the players don't interact with. But
right. It's the scullery boy who's cleaning out the kitchen. It's the person that's beating the blanket with the cat, that kind of thing, and doesn't. It's just something that you describe to the players, and it doesn't mean anything. But suddenly, the players can go,
the person that you saw walk out of the shop and they're walking away and you don't even interact with them by the time you get to the shop.
right, they're already long gone. Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
But you saw them because it's giving, making the place seem lively. That's sort of what they do.
Yeah.
Like it's lived in. There's things happening around you.
Yes.
Players can decide to interact with them, and if they do, then
And they can.
they put the NPC.
Right. They could become more. It all depends on what it's like. If the guy just goes, "Hey babe, how you doing?" doesn't mean that they necessarily become important. But if they pursue them back to their house and say, "No, I want to know more about you," then yes, of course you have to adjust the level of NPC.
Yeah, really.
So. Yeah, so Draconium was the city. Did that answer your question? G.
Oh,
When you had asked about Draconium, and I explained that is the name of the city. Did that answer your question? I just want to make sure.
yes, that did.
Okay.
I'm going through I'm literally, as you're talking, I'm looking at the rule book right now.
Nice.
Pieces of lore.
Nice. So you'll find you're right that I didn't put a heavy amount of lore in that property.
I'm just going to pause you there.
Yeah.
Be aware, reading through the book, that there's what you know, and then there's what your character knows.
This is true, and that's another thing to keep aware of. As you mentioned, once again, remember when I said that there's a difference between being able to figure something out through a heraldry skill and then being able to figure out what's currently existing.
Right. Especially since.
Everyone, like I said a little while ago, everyone knows that Medusa turns people to stone. Then your character might not know that.
Yes.
Yeah. More importantly, on Nycos and Medusa isn't called a Medusa. So you're screwed if you think you're going to metagame me. There might be Gorgons, but there's also the Gorgon that's the Bola, the big metal bull. If you've watched The Last Unicorn.
Not yet. I have a lot of watching to do.
Yeah, matter of fact, we have movie nights, by the way, Nycos movie nights. So I actually
Have you been watching the Foundation TV series?
I have not, but I read the books.
The second season has just come out.
Yeah, I'm fearful of that only because they butchered iRobot. They butchered iRobot so badly, and that was also an Asimov work. So I'm fearful whenever a grandmaster sci-fi writer gets turned into a TV show. Like I watched a little bit of the movie version, the miniseries version of Childhood's End, and I really didn't like it. On the other hand, I watched Atlas Shrugged, all three parts, and loved it. So
Well, and that's the thing is that you're taking a book. It's almost like taking Nycos is like taking a book because everyone that reads a book sees it differently in their head.
yep,
You get the same with any theory of the mind, and as soon as you cement it and put it in a movie and say this is how it is, then suddenly people see that differently in their head, and they're like, oh, that's not how I saw that.
yep.
But then at the same time, it's then ruined the image of the book because now you've got the base and from the movie thrown over your how you saw them in the book every time you think of them, like Harry Potter, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can never see Dobby any way than the way that Dobby was in the movie without breaking your brain because reading it in the book, you didn't look anything like that. Yep.
Very true. It does also come down to player perspective as well.
Well, and this is one of the things that we've been going round and round on, and that is, I'm a big believer, a huge believer in the intent and purpose of active imagination, which is why I prefer theater of the mind for the most part, because I want, when I do a description and an explanation, I want you to be seeing the exact same picture. And if I do it properly, when I do that description and you see it the same way I do, then we're in concert, and the play will feel natural. And if I did it wrong or I did it incompletely, then it's going to, not.
Details that it's you're not being too much. So the general idea of is the same. So
Yeah,
a table and it's made out of driftwood,
right.
and that's enough where they might see that as bigger or smaller or stand higher or bits under it or not, and that's not important, but they still see it differently.
Yep. As my grandfather used to say, "You're not wrong." It's driving me crazy. Don't like that phrase, but yeah, you're not wrong. It's correct. And here we go. Got the newest map all done, so I get to add it to the art gallery. Adding.
Okay, bit of a silly question.
Uh huh.
What are the dark shards and dark shards?
What are dark shards and dark shards? Well, that is a Act 3 reveal. If you know anything about artifacts, you present them sometime in Act 1. There's a chance of them being destroyed in Act 2, and a final conclusion in Act 3. So here at the beginning of the arc, they have not yet made a presence known. But I will go ahead, and this is where we go into Nycos as a grand story. Let me see if it's up here already. I think in Encyclopedia Nicosia, I think is the grand cycle poem. Yeah, Encyclopedia Nicosia. Oh no, that's only right now just the Medicians. Give me a second, and I'll put the grand cycle poem here. Well, you've got the grand cycle. It's in the book.
It's in the beginning of the book, yes.
Yes.
It'd be good to put on the encyclopedia too.
Yes. You don't like my Encyclopedia Nicosia? You think that's a little strange?
It's called Message.
Yep. Exactly. It's the warm fuzzy. Well, and the point here. Okay, so here's the real story. I've been running this same campaign since I was 11. My first arc took me 7 years to create, and then every time after that, it's been about 6 years until we got to the seventh iteration. So literally, I played the same story arc 6.5 years, playing every Friday. Fundamentally, I am really old. I'm older, and in this case, I'm 7 times older than the world. So, um, anyway, these grand arcs therefore play out of time after time after time, and the poem, that lore was always available from the beginning. It's something that gets discovered early on. Now, in this iteration, it hasn't been quite revealed yet, so you are getting a little bit of a jump on the lore because that piece will become visible here in a bit. When it does, then it's going to signal the beginning of the beginning. And then the beginning of the beginning is when the things that are of that poem start to become revealed. Just give me a second here. I need to go ahead and get this map uploaded. Mm-mm. Nope, 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 nope. Wrong one.
So these touch points in these various veils are really interesting.
Thanks. There's the newest map, Elsadar.
I'm assuming you're currently running a campaign in that region right now.
Nope, nope. It's one of the most famous locations on the planet. So
Dude, your mic is messed up.
yeah, it's like if you hold your head just wrong, we can't hear you. Yeah, no, it's good.
No, you're good now.
Yeah, hang on a second.
I'm assuming you already have. You already have a map. You're already in the process of building a map for the Draconium.
That's what I was just saying. I haven't yet. This iteration. Nope.
Oh, gotcha. Understood.
Not that it won't be coming soon, but it really becomes a matter of whether or not you want to cross into what is considered enemy territory or not. Since
Aren't we already kind of in enemy territory, considering Barbos is also a part of the Draconium?
no, Barbos is not Draconium. Barbos is the Pirate Kingdoms.
Gotcha.
What was the question, Strig? One, 200. And that's a one-time purchase. With it does have a maintenance fee of $10 because I've got to keep updating you on the news and all of that kind of stuff, and so there's a there's an attendance fee, and if you don't, let's say you buy the hex and you only want it to be a part of the story, then you don't. Uh, seven. She's going to buy 10. She wants a total of 10. Well, for now. And you're going to probably earn a couple as you go along since you're helping me out with all this stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to.
yeah. Well, when
Time instead.
right, exactly. It's called investment. Yeah, that exactly. And I can imagine, in 10 or 15 years, when we have 1,000 people per episode watching us or whatever, there'll be enough revenue that you won't have to worry about that either because you'll be getting paid by me to help me sell it in New Zealand and Australia. You'll be traveling all over down there, going to conventions and stuff on our behalf.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
That's
Getting off the ground.
yep.
Still learning this world. There's still a lot to learn.
Yes, and Jean's been at it 7 years, and so she's still got a long way to go too. She's one of only two people that's ever played completely through an arc. Most players play up one through the one character, they reach the Paragon level, and then they quit. They go to do a real life.
The best way to learn the world is to play it.
Yes, absolutely.
Unless you're the DM and you have to read and learn it.
Yes. Well, as a DM, you only have to read the cursory, like the poem that we're talking about, and then you can do with it what you will because the poem is literally open ended. If you when you see it as G already has, you'll know what I mean when I say that.
So is it more
Yeah,
that
especially the word beneath it.
buying hexes just gives access to information about
No, okay. So here's the
what
now you get to hear the full evil overlord plan. After yesterday, it makes perfect sense. Evil overlord plan. Every game master who would love to be a part of something bigger than themselves can purchase a hex on Nycos. That hex on Nycos is 625 square miles, so most of adventuring groups will never get past that anyway. But if you are a enterprising game master and you want to create your own world and you only want to link up, then you just pay the one fee and you own the one hex. On the other hand, if you want to develop something for Nycos, it will become Nycosian property if you post it to the Nycos site.
what stops people from just making their own hex and not paying you anything?
Well, then that's fine. That's no, it's fine because they're not on the map. They're not a part of the world of Nycos because they're not including their material with ours.
So you'll have a whole lot of information, and people go, "I want to go there and have this information on that area for people that don't want to create all this stuff." Is that what you're?
That's part of it. The second part is I am a big time advocate for game designer, game master ownership of whatever they have created. And so I want to make this a protected environment so anything they create for themselves and they promote themselves on their website is not part of the world of Nycos. It's only what they wish to give us on our side that becomes embellished part of the story. And as long as they pay their maintenance fee, their information will be constantly fed to them about what's going on in the world, so they can run our story if they want.
So won't you get the opposite, where people want you to pay? I mean, get paid for using their ideas?
Well, they are getting paid because I'm not taking any money from them. I'm giving them a link, and they're able to say, "Yep, this is my hex on Nycos, and I'm doing all these cool things on my own." I'm okay with that because the interest in their property will lead them to an understanding or an interest in Nycos. So it's perfectly fine, win-win for me. It's more people that are going to put their eyes on what Nycos is. All I want to be is a facilitator. I want every game master out there to be able to use the simplest RPG mechanism in the world and do exactly what they want to creatively, and make it so that the characters that develop aren't being guarded and guided by a game system.
What's the point of people paying for a hex unless people are using them? So is it just is it so people can look up and go, "Oh, I like that hex."
It can be,
I like how it links in with
it can be, and
look it up and use the hexes.
oh, because if they say, well, for example, they wouldn't have to say hex. They'd say, I'm like in Jean's case, she built a country. She bought enough hexes to be a country. So she gets the name of Elwendale, and she paid that fee. So that area is now Elwendale. Now, can it be attacked? Can other armies march across it? Sure. But those armies that attack do not ever actually enter the space that is privately hers. So whatever she wants to say about the land is her land, as long as she's owns it. But in the meta,
Game masters are going to want to enter that land and know what happens if they did.
right? If they do, then they can defend it. They can engage, and if they do, then I'm going to provide them any resources and support they need, including mercenaries from other countries. So somebody, let's say, buys a part of Mercia, and Mercia is the kingdom where most of the mercenaries of the world come from. So you hire military units from Mercia to come up and defend your country. The Mercian mercenaries, for example, will never turn. You cannot counter purchase them.
You're wanting people outside yourself to give influence on what happens, like
Absolutely.
its own unit, well, its own country or whatever.
Absolutely. And I want there to be a conference every year where the members of this special committee can get together, like a convention, where you can come and show your banners for what else. You know, if you own part of El Sadar, then you want to have the El Sadaran flags, and you want to show us what the El Sadaran armor looks like, and all of that, so that we can build. And it's all creative within their world, and I don't care, because I just want the world of Nycos to.
So that means that you would need to have rules, talk to that person and have rules of their world, their area, their government rules, their what's allowed, what's not, all that sort of stuff when someone's traveling through it then.
Right, exactly. And they have to give that to me. So let's say the worst case, you get somebody who's from a certain right-wing elitist group and wants to have their country be how do you say it? Ugly, rich, and scabby. And it's something I don't want as a game master. I can simply say that governmental system cannot appear on the world of Nycos, but it can be in your hex. It's just that's behind the paywall. It's going to be behind the wall of what you've created. So it's not a part of the Nycos world. So instead, it'll be a placid little kingdom that protects itself. You know, it allows the players to have the creativity, but it also is going to give us the ability to what's the word I'm looking for? Monitor and protect, so that like if somebody was wanting to be a real creepy person, I can say no. Right. Yep.
So the game needs to be work into this.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to choose what you want, but it still needs to work within the rules of.
Exactly. So let me go get the words. Also, since you have the since you purchased the copy today, if you want, I can also send you the PDF of the enhanced edition, which will be coming out in about 7 months, which has a much more clear structure, has an actual index and a table of contents that makes sense and pushes the pieces that should be where they're supposed to be into the spot.
You're talking about a new version of the system?
Yes, the enhanced edition system book is.
Because I've noticed there are very similar problems, including context and.
I agree, and the reality is that it's one of those situations where you're wanting to write a book, and so you write the book, and then you sit for almost 2 years and don't do anything with it because you want to wait for it to be perfect, and it never will be. So publish the damn thing so that it's protected. It's got an ISBN. People can't steal it, and now it's safe.
That's fair. But I've also noticed that in the index, you put instead of the touch point of Orentius, you put the ouch point of Orentius and the ouch point of Vol.
Nice. Well, that makes sense. The ouch point of Vol makes sense because Vol is the one who's all about power. Those typos have been fixed. But yeah, that is very funny. Very, very funny. So let me get this text pulled up.
I guess you want to get to the stage where you can pay someone to do all the proofreading for you, etc.
Oh yeah, and I want to. Okay. This is something either one of you can help me with. If you know anybody that is a cartoonist, you've seen the cover, you know what kind of level of style I want to put into the world of Nycos. If you know anybody that can draw along those lines or at that level, I'm looking for an artist to become a head of art direction. I want to have a Yeah.
very hard to find anyone. And
Well, no, I believe there are enough people in the business that are like me that are passionate about it that they won't mind taking their share when the product actually publishes, when the product actually.
one that you give them rewards in other ways.
Right. Like give them hexes, give them creative control. Yep, exactly.
Just find someone that's passionate.
Hmm.
That's also,
Yeah, I just went and made sure. Yes, the ouch points have been changed to touch points. We're good.
We've got a question of context when it comes to the details about personas.
What's that? Go ahead, ask.
Give me a moment. Let me see if I can find it here.
No worries. There we go. The poem is now posted. And I'm pinning it. And you'll also notice when you look at it, it's slightly different from the version you have because I hadn't finished the structure on it when I put it in the written form. This version is complete. It's all the same points, but it's a better position, better connect.
Woo, paying $25 for an incomplete product. Ayo.
Except that you also are getting you're like you're at what do they call it, charter membership, dude. You're gonna get so many benefits from the fact that I know that how bad the first version was. That I'll be making up to you for a long damn time. You get a lot of you'll be able to milk. Well, no, and well, I think I did pretty good as far as completion on the parts that are there.
In terms of gameplay processes, this is pretty dang solid.
as one gets more back end, then he can be a bit more professional. You know what I mean?
Yep, we'll have an editor and
Yeah.
proofreaders.
Artwork on the edge of the pages or whatever is decided.
Yep. And we can have the really cool grainy paper and ink stains and all of that kind of crap if we want. And when we Kickstarter it at $150 per copy, that's a joke. uh,
All right, so here it is. I found where the issue is.
okay, okay.
Oh, you ready?
Yeah, I'm speak away.
Okay. There was an issue of context within the.
Oh, by the way, hello, Brewing Chaos D&D. He's one of our fans. He's been watching us for several days. So welcome, welcome. We are speaking with Strigley as usual, and we've now added also. I'm just gonna call him G. G.
This proofreading process must be absolutely exhilarating.
Oh no! Are you kidding? You kidding? He sat here. He sat here through a long discussion about NPCs the other day. So he's good. He's good. Go ahead. Go ahead. Ask the question.
So it says through the persona, it says the process for the citizens of Nykos over in the Planet of Prisons paragraph.
Uh huh.
The process for citizens of Nykos is a ritual and a bonding beyond anything Terrans can comprehend, and through the persona has been, and though the persona has been in both realms, the persona lives daily in Nykos, and the persona only engages when they can.
Right.
Is that meant to be that way?
Yes, we're talking about the player and the enjoined. It doesn't actually say enjoined until you get to this.
Lives daily in Nykos, and the persona only engages when they can.
Yes. No. The enjoined is the persona. The person, the player, is the player, and that's the them. That's the they can is the player. The NPC, the enjoined engages
Lives daily in Nycos then.
the enjoined, the persona.
Persona lives daily in Nycos.
Right? That's what I'm saying. No. Okay. So let me rephrase. The enjoined is the player. Okay, and the the persona is the character.
Oh yeah, no, I know that. What I'm saying is that there's a proofreading error I'm trying to point out.
Okay, I'm trying to hear where there was an error. Say it again, but reread it because I may have understood it.
Go through the previous sentence. And though the persona has been in both realms, the persona lives daily in Nycos, and the persona only engages when they can. Isn't it supposed to be the enjoined lives daily in Nycos, and the persona engages only when they can?
When the enjoined can.
Okay.
The persona is there all the time, but the enjoined only engage when they can. So you're right. The problem is I used a pronoun. Pronouns get us into trouble, right? The they there is the problem. The they there should be the enjoined when the
Just wanted to point out a context there, just like
Yep.
in the index.
Yep. No worries.
I know everybody who's watching this is exhilarating.
Hey, brewing chaos. If you enjoy what's going on, type anything in the chat right now. Let's see whether or not he's paying attention. Oh, is he? He hit earlier and took off. Well, he also the other day he was lurking, so I didn't even know he was there and was still talking to us. So even though he wasn't showing up in the chat,
Where's the Twitch link, by the way?
twitch.tv/NycosRPG. Right now, yeah. Probably me. I I'm actually. Oh, okay. I'm actually watching it through the back screen. Oh, the viewer number always freaks me out because it'll like the other day after we got rated, it said 11, but then when I went back and looked, it showed us as an average of 4, and then that hour there was only 4, so they actually rotated through. So we had 11 people, but they weren't all. Nice. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Matter of fact, we can. I can switch the way.
Tanks in Nycos again?
No. Commander Clueless Drives a Tank is one of my shows that I do, and I do that in the World of Tanks channel, and I also do. Fair enough. You want to see me do it here? Yeah. I also do Commander Clueless Flies a Starship because I play No Man's Sky, and I also do Commander Clueless Conquers the World because I play Civ 6. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Wait a second. Whoa. They do exist. They do exist on Nycos right now. You guys, this is a spoiler for Act 2. There are arsenals on Nycos that were brought here by the invading Terrans in previous iterations that have never been discovered. Yeah, you can. You can. Have you seen the movie Wizards? Ralph Bakshi made a movie back in the 70s called Wizards. Oh, shut up, you. You're too young. You're too young. What are you talking about? The world exists.
I'm gonna go ahead and bring nuclear weapons.
Okay. Stop. Actually, you can actually see this. I think it's already up there. Look at the map of Canaveral in the art gallery. I think the map of Canaveral is already there.
Well, just a T, like a T-34 just sitting out there.
If you look at in the art gallery, let me double check, but I'm pretty sure it's there. Yeah, Canaveral's there. So if you pull up the map of Canaveral, you'll see. Yeah. So on the right-hand corner of the map, sorry, the left-hand corner of the map is a series of concentric circles, and those are actually the blast wave radiuses of a stage 2 nuke that was detonated on the surface of Nykos this last iteration.
Oh, okay. So the wizards do have nuke magic.
No. This is actually a ICBM.
That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, there are ICBM sites and such all over Nykos that are still left over. Because here's the part about the Grand Arc that isn't in the poem is that each iteration generally started in the past with the elimination of all humans. Because when I first started playing D&D way back, players would not play humans because human beings had no modifiers. You got no boost to strength, intelligence, wisdom, dex, con, charisma. You didn't get any extra hit points. You didn't get anything as being human. But all the other races, every other race got benefits. So no players were going to play humans. They flat out told me that. And so I said, okay, just so you know, if you guys have decided it for me, there are no humans on Nykos. So don't bring a human character. You're going to be playing whatever you chose, but there will not be any humans at all on the planet. Guess what showed up day one of my actual campaign? 6 players, all with humans. Because they wanted to be that special. So I was like, okay, this has taught me a lot about roleplay games. It's not about the modifiers. If you can actually create a reason for it to be special, players will want to roll. Oh, yeah. So in the case, that's what the humans are. Yeah, the human population. Originally, and for 5 iterations, it was true, because in story, at the end of each arc, humanity was decimated. Humans were basically hunted out of existence in one. They were shipped off planet in another. They were taken full-on prisoner in a third, and they committed cultural suicide in the fourth. What's that? It was a whole different world, man. A whole different world. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. But my point is that, as a matter of fact, what happened? Well, the biggest thing that happened is in the 7th iteration, my players had heard all of the stories. They knew that the arc had continued over and over again, all these different times, and they felt that I, as a game master, was being bound. That it wasn't fair. That I should be able to be as creative as I wanted to be, and I shouldn't have to play this arc. So they decided in the waning days of the 7th, after they'd already solved all the puzzles, and they were ready to ascend to their versions of patriarchy, whether they're going to be avatars or gods or whatever, they determined that they were going to create a 7-fold wish. So they had all reached Paragon levels, so they all could cast a wish, and they all shared magical powers with each other to be able to do this, and they did it in D&D 5e rules. And so this 7-fold wish was going to erase Nykos all the way back to the beginning. They were going to erase all of the iterations, all of the prophecies, all of the knowledge of all species, right back to the beginning, literally bombing the existence out of the iteration, so that I, as a game master, would finally be free.
This is some next level.
Yes, but one of the players was a human, and he got wind of the fact that if he did this, he would obliterate all humanity from the planet. And he secretly changed his portion of the wish to say, I wish for the rest of the wish to go off, but when it comes to my part in it, which is the destruction of humanity, I want to sacrifice myself and eliminate myself from all written records so that humanity might live. So he's basically became the Nykos Jesus.
That's pretty wild.
And so for all of the 8th iteration, there were humans here, but they weren't supposed to be, because the beginning of the iteration is supposed to be the annihilation of the species. So when the actual rightful mortals, which were the humans from outer space that were supposed to come here, got here, they had come in a generation ship. They were 300,000 strong in a generation ship that was supposed to land on Nykos and take dominion. And the players on the planet sort of discovered this and figured out how to rig an explosive, launched it up to the generation ship, and obliterated it instead. And so for 48 hours, there were bodies and defense pods and rescue pods and escape pods and everything that rained down on Earth. And so that led to the solution of the reign of men, even though the prophecy writes it REIGN. Theirs was the reign of men was literally the bodies falling out of the sky. The reign of men. And
Some of them may have actually survived.
they did, and they became a thorn in the side of the adventuring party, because these beings that came to Nykos were humans who had never been properly indoctrinated to the world of Nykos, and therefore they didn't have the ability to absorb the magic that Nykos creates, because the magicals are created by Nimbus. And so when they came to the surface, if they let their skin come in contact with the air, they would gain lesions and eventually die, because it would create basically carcinogenic growth, because their bodies were not prepared for the world. And so they decided to isolate themselves. And the majority of them that survived were because they fell into the much larger ocean. And so they are today known as the Myr, M-Y-R. And they are a merfolk species, but they are humans, pure strain humans that live in the water. And they live in the water because they still have the technology from their approach. So they're basically living in space pod bubbles under the water.
That is very interesting.
Yep. So anyway, this iterational wish that they made went ahead and went off. He got to save humanity, and the rest of the world was pitched into the belief that they were the new world, because the magic actually went through time backwards, erasing everything that it could. But throughout time, there have always been creatures big enough and powerful enough to sense temporal magic, time magic, that said, no, you won't either. And so there was created periodic locations and spaces that were temporal storms, fixed points in time that couldn't be changed. And they created magical, mystical storms over the entire surface of the planet, where you could actually pass from one time period into another by passing through the storm. So one of the groups dedicated themselves to the idea of undoing the revenue, and so they searched out the means to do so, and it basically entailed finding 7 items that were called the Fellstones. They had to hunt up the Fellstones and then reposition them on the world in order to counteract the revening magic, that never-ending spell going backwards through time. It was later called the Revenant. And once they had planted the last of the Fellstones, then the 7th iteration could finally actually end. And when it did, then the 8th iteration began. But enough time had passed that they were actually halfway through the 8th iteration by that point. And so they only had half the time left to do all the things on the list.
That must have been stressful.
No, because I had 9, at that point in time, chronologically, was the beginning of COVID. So I had 9 game groups running simultaneously in the world each week, running their part of the story each week. And so we had crossover episodes where the Tuesday group would show up at the same place as the Friday group. And so the players got to commiserate and talk about things. We actually had a situation set up where there was an annual book drive where groups could actually sell off the tomes and magic books that they'd found that were better used by another group to do something. Because they would find books that are on somebody else's subject, and so they could do a book drive where they could trade the books magically. It's fun. And somehow, He wants to know what your opinion is of that story so far. Oh, I say BP for not paying attention, Strig. That's.
Yeah, you talked about the world and how the players influenced it and how humans. Yeah, I listened to the gist of it.
Right. So he just wanted to know what your opinion was of the grand arc story. Now that you actually have the poem to look at now too.
Yeah, I just read it.
Okay. That's what he was doing. See, he was actually doing his homework and researching the poem. So don't give him any crap. Don't assume that he was falling asleep and ignoring us. No.
Even though it was a poem. Oh, you're talking about me? Okay,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, I was listening.
I know.
Like the time portals and
Yeah, I know. I'm just teasing you.
players were influencing and wiping out the world and
Mhm.
humans being strong enough to stop it from being erased. And no, I was listening.
Yep, yep, yep. I know. I was just teasing you.
Didn't have my opinion. I don't know. How do I give my opinion on a story that?
Do you think it sounds interesting, fun? Think it's boring? To use your word.
I can't give my proper opinion when I've only heard a slight overview of it.
True. True.
Right.
That's fair.
In the morning, I need to get to bed. It's been fun, chatting with you.
Yeah, and I'm at my cap for the adventure anyway. So since I got the map up for El Sadar, I feel like mission accomplished. So I know. You got to realize. Okay,
1 p.m.
so clarification: Strig is in New Zealand.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so yeah, so he's on, literally
You guys Australian?
he's not only that he's being that far ahead of.
Australian all the time.
He's also a time traveler because he's from our future.
No, I'm from the present.
You're from the oh, I see. Well, obviously we're stuck in the past because our receivers still get your static every once in a while.
See, traveling into the past again.
Yep, there you go.
He'll be clear again. Yep, he's totally gone.
All right.
Good?
Yeah, now you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, sorry, talking to the past. Have you seen that movie Frequency?
Of course, of course.
It's like that, like I'm trying to talk to you guys.
Yes, and since you're talking from the past, you're my grandchild. Okay, that's great.
Talking from the future where Nycos is already a thing and it's popular.
Oh, nice, nice. Send us checks. Send me just one of the royalty checks so I can start the damn thing. All I need.
Maybe it is popular and I want it to be and I see that it could have been and now I'm trying to help the past to
Oh,
make
that would explain why you tried to hack it and steal it, right? From the other.
catch on to me when I talk about over here, like
Yes, it will be. It will be just as soon as you pull the plug on it. But like I said, all you got to do is just send me one of those royalty checks because I'll let.
recording it. So I'm recording the podcast and
There you go.
happening is since it's I'm 100 years in the future and you don't exist anymore and of this technology and
Nice,
information about Nycos from the original creator 100 years ago is valuable.
nice. Yeah, see, that sounds like a Nycos adventure right there. That totally is a Nycos thing. Well, welcome to Nycos. Alrighty, well, it was really great having you on the show, G. You're more than welcome anytime, and be glad to talk with you anytime. I'm here on the Discord, usually in the water cooler room here on Discord, and so
Water cooler.
why is it called a water cooler?
Is it like waiting room, have a drink?
No, no. Oh, actually, no. In the United States, if somebody wants to talk about gossip, they talk about it as being water cooler conversation. Because when you go on break, you go to the water cooler.
I said that we should call it the hot tub.
Wait, what's the cooling when you have a break? Over here we call it smoker because half the time people smoke.
Yes, yes, but we have almost virtually unlimited smokers, which is partially why I occasionally will. You'll see it furtively in the background that I'll be smoking a tobacco pipe. I don't advocate for tobacco smoke. If you have started, stop. If you haven't started, don't. But I smoke a tobacco pipe occasionally because when I was a child. Dude, if you can imagine that, can you imagine if all of a sudden I started getting checks from Camel, yeah, Camel and Lucky Strike? Holy moly, we'd be in business. But no, we can't because you can't advocate for it. No, actually, okay. So here's the rules of what they say. You cannot actively promote it or endorse it, but you can participate and partake of it as long as you don't draw particular attention to it. Right, exactly. No, but you could advertise that you do. You could put out advertising as seen on and be okay because you're not actually advocating for that product. So yeah, you could like if your website might have a piece or whatever. Alrighty, we need to both stop because otherwise Strig and I will talk for another hour about something else that's got nothing to do with any of this. Yeah, but I've got some work I need to get done before tomorrow because I've got another game.
Yeah, I'll probably see you. I'll see you later, Commander Jay.
All right, see you next week.
I'll see you next week, Monday.
Yeah, if not before, I'll be here on chat. So I'll talk to you later. See you later, guys. Bye.